Well, hello there. I decided to let you look at what I'm seeing rather than me. Some decent weather has returned to Portugal. I noticed on the US news that the East Coast is getting battered by blizzards and snowstorms. Anyway, I'm still working on my capitalist cabinet of curiosities and publishing that on Substack. Uh, I'm not really a Substack busker. Um, I know many good writers there and commentators and people with a compelling voice who have a lot of interesting things to say. And so it's a good platform to find people like that. But it's, whoa, you can see I'm going to get blown away here. Yeah, good people. But it's difficult for them to make a living at this. And beyond just the making a living, because people can make money in other ways and still find time to write something. It just means that you won't be publishing every day or whatever it is, you know. I mean, you make your own deadline. Maybe, like it took me to put all together the whole capitalist cabinet of curiosities, and I'm no expert. It took me a couple months, and it was a couple hundred pages, whittled down. I was looking at a whole bunch of different sources, and even then, um, you're just scratching the surface. You know, there's so many other things I could have looked at or commented on or talked about, different books and so on. You can't cover it all. It's impossible. What I wanted to do was provide people with multiple points of view, perspectives, and ways of seeing the cabinet of curiosities, and maybe that would pick their interest in looking into the subject more deeply, or perhaps it would give them some ideas or whatever. My thing isn't to write the showstopper piece um, and be lauded as a poet or great writer or something. I just want to work things out for myself and provide people with an opportunity to maybe become interested in looking at things in various ways, because you, depending on the lens you use to examine something, you know, from which perspective are you looking at something, you'll either I think this is going to be pretty shaky because of the way I have it set up. You will have a different idea of it. And I just finished a piece on Plato's Republic. And of course, there's so many great academics that talk about Plato, and there's so much content out there, great stuff and good books and whatnot. And the idea is to say, why don't you, in my opinion, a couple of these things are a good way to explore it, but that's only me, right? From some other person's perspective, you might want to look at it in different ways. And the Republic, Plato's Republic, has informed so much in Western, in the Western tradition of philosophy over the millennia. It's profound. And so anytime you're dealing with a piece like that, that really is incredibly deep, uh, you're going to have people from different ideological or religious or cultural perspectives, uh, digesting it and espousing upon it in different ways. The same way you would as a Westerner reading about Zen Buddhism or Confucianism or Taoism or something, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever. We invariably bring our own culture to the mix, and this colors our perspectives and our ways of understanding and seeing it. But okay, so where am I going with this? Um, the Republic, as well as the Apology and other books from Plato, uh, uh, get better over time. In other words, if you read it in high school and then in college and then 10 years after college and then when you're 40 and when you're 50 and 60, it ripens. It gets better because your life experience informs how you interpret the text. And current events, you can look at it through the lens of current events, which I always do. And I say, wow, if people listened to Plato, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Even his concepts about forms, you can very shallowly and simplistically talk about forms, and or you can think of it in a broader, deeper, or more profound way. Like I just see, concepts, are thinking, and reality, however we define it, and I do refer back to Jim Rutt's minimum viable metaphysics as a kind of a way of approaching things. But a lot of people have great ways of approaching things epistemologically and ontologically and so on. But I just find the way I update my experience, or my experience with Plato is updated because of my life experience and because of my current circumstances and current events and so on, to be fascinating. It never gets old. And there are certain books and people that one can read over and over and over again, and it never gets old. And some of the ancient wisdom traditions really, really have that. So if you read bits and pieces of the Buddhist canon, for example, or the Upanishads, the Vedas, whatever, or from other traditions less famous, in academia, Native American or Australian oral traditions, or you name it, they get more profound year by year as you grow into them. A lot of people just say, well, those things there's nothing to it. We have science, engineering, and technology now. Who cares about those wisdom traditions? Even the Bible as a piece of literature, the Old Testament, or if you want to look at the Jewish tradition, the Torah or something, or the New Testament, or the Gnostic Gospels, whatever. They're profound works of literature at the very least. And you do grow into them over time if you really read them and think about them. And sometimes we need help thinking about them. So that's why I brought up, I can't pronounce his real name, but Lantern Jack is a philosopher and very interesting guy who studies ancient philosophy and so on. And I like the way he interprets and reinterprets things over time. You can see growth in him despite his being a fairly well known, especially on the tubes and whatnot, but also academically, academic. Uh, yeah, he's interesting. And John Verveke also. And sometimes these people frustrate the hell out of me because um, there is so much there, and so few people look at their work. People just don't care about that kind of stuff, and it's too bad. And people who are interested in the classics or whatever are going to be very passionate about sharing their knowledge and coming up with new ways to talk about it. And they're going to feel pretty good because 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever, or maybe let's say if they're really lucky, 50,000 people bought their book or whatever. And some of these books are just for, serious students. Sometimes these volumes cost $100 or more. But and then you have all the pop intellectuals like Jordan Peterson writing a blurb for Verveke's book about the meaning crisis, and it's like, oh God, gag me with a spoon. Yeah, it's such a small little world, and people seem to think that they're doing something by participating in that tiny little world. But what we're really doing is just, on our journey, looking at what we want to look at, thinking about what we want to think about, getting stimulated by what we think is stimulating, on and on and on. But we're not doing anything. So uh, we wind up going through these cycles of history over and over again and believing what we want to believe. It's interesting, in various cultures around the world, human sacrifice was a thing, and people literally didn't mind being sacrificed because they really believed in the afterlife. I mean, if there's an afterlife that you believe is much better than this one, why not, you know, die to go with your king to wherever? And you see Russian and Ukrainian soldiers praying before they go into battle. And people believe in an afterlife. It's very powerful. And so, why give a shit about what's going on today? I think a lot of people, they use faith as a motivational tool or energy source. You know, it helps them win boxing matches and tournaments, and helps them get richer, or whatever it does, helps them get married. I don't know. But it's good to think that there's something bigger out there that's taking care of you, and everything happens for a reason. So why do the work of really engaging in self examination? Why take the pilgrimage towards wisdom? Why do that work? Why spend the time? Of course, for some of us, it's just time well spent. It is its own reward. And so when we engage with these works, we feel happy, satisfied, something like we're doing good. Are we kicking the venal, dark tetrad maniacs out of office and stepping up to re-evaluate and redesign the way things are governed? No. People need to make a living, so if any of these authors on Substack sold T-shirts and insurance on the side, they would be okay. That's why AI slop and whatever is so easy because you can just cater to audience capture. Give the people what they've been trained to want. You want to train algorithms and train AIs. You train people too. You train the public on propaganda. And it's all the time. It's just floods and floods of propaganda. So, what are you going to do? That's why I think that a lot of people that I respect and like, because I think they're nice people more than anything, I agree with their sentiment that, what you're going to do is enjoy life and do your best and do what you can and enjoy the journey and come what may. Historically, what reshuffles the deck in terms of power and leadership and so on is mass death. If we want to go to war with Russia and Iran, if the United States needs to keep absolute control, absolute hegemony, blah, 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 then it'll do that, and lots of people will die, and after that maybe something different will happen. Or another pandemic, much worse than the last one. Or we just damage our ecosystems and habitats so much that we can no longer feed 8 billion people, and you have 5 billion people starving to death over a period of time. Over a generation, let's say 30 years, do the trick. And while people are starving to death, of course, more violence, more instability, more chaos. Oh, I don't want to believe in that because science, engineering, and technology, and Jesus, and whatever. But it's very likely that that's the way it's going to go because we've seen it all before. We've just never seen it at a global scale where you have a fairly homogeneous global culture and civilization that's in the same boat. There's nowhere to run and hide. You can't go and occupy the colonies or the Americas, send gold and silver back to the king or whatever. Those days are over. You can't just go to another place and plant pineapple. At some point, there's nowhere to run. All these people in the quote-unquote global south who trek up to El Norte, to the United States of New Miracles, they're treated like shit. Business people can't do business without labor arbitrage, without cheap labor. That's the whole name of the game, is profit. So you're going to pay as little as you can. You want a good profit margin. They need to import, people from the colonies to do work. And they also need the colonies to continue to produce, to send back natural resources to the hegemon. They need all that. And they also need to vilify these people because that keeps normal people distracted. And they're thinking, oh, it's their fault. It's not the corruption, the hypocrisy, the criminal activity of our leaders that's at fault. It's these people who come up here and want to take our stuff. Well, we've been taking their stuff since the beginning of civilization, so, it's absurd. We take everybody's stuff so that we can go to Walmart and Home Depot. And then we go to church and so on to justify it, to feel comfortable with it. That's the level of our metaphysics. It's a kind of vanity, evangelicalism. And it's actually tragic. But you don't feel it until it happens to you Then when it happens to you, you probably blame somebody else like Satan and look forward to heaven or whatever. I don't know. But it doesn't really make sense. If you're, I'm not saying people on the wisdom journey, you know, the, the hero with 1,000 faces or whatever, are going to be any better off or do anything better for the overall good of civilization. But I do believe that people on that journey are kinder, gentler, nicer people, more authentic, more honest, more real, and I do think that they find a profound connection with things, and that makes them love life even more. So even as they're victimized and nailed to trees and mowed down with machine guns and whatever, blown up, they are somehow more happy, more serene. You know, it's Dostoevsky. It's like, yeah, you're a prisoner, you're going through hell, but there's freedom in it. I don't know. Anyway, at some point, I think at my age, I just have to throw up both my hands and say, you know, to heck with it. Why support anybody? You know, you read good books and you think about them on your own. And to heck with the blogosphere, whatever we call it these days, social media, whatever. And it's only going to get crazier. If you are a filmmaker and you want to use AI to make a film and you have a good story to tell, why not? Use it while you can, because someday it's going to be unplugged. It's not going to be available. That's a fact. And while you're using it, you're using up the fresh water. You're using up all kinds of resources. Basically, we eat the world, we eat the children, we eat the ones who make a brighter day, so let's keep eating, let's consume, let's waste. I think living a life that wasn't so wasteful would be better, but who the heck am I? If you're richer than me and have nicer things and have a better education or whatever, you have so much to be proud of. And that pride feeds you more than anything. You feel pretty damn good. And if you don't feel good, you can take a pill. Or do a bump. Or have a really expensive glass of wine. Or whatever. Rent an escort. Whatever people do. You know, not just vice, but, you know, go to the gym. You know. So we're going to make ourselves feel good, and if it's about feeling good, it's not even about happiness, because that's a thing that you think about when you're old and looking back, or when you're on your deathbed and saying, you know, it was pretty damn good anyway. But feeling good, that's a different thing. And people want to feel good, so let's all feel good. I don't know why I care about this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's just interesting. It's fascinating. So I often wonder if I focused on one thing to the nth degree. Like, I had a science teacher in high school, and she later became a scholar in Byzantium studies, Byzantine Empire, Byzantine history. And it's very interesting. You go from being a science teacher to that, and then delving into it so deeply that the rest of the world just doesn't matter that much. You're into Byzantium, dude, you know? Come on. It takes up all my time. If I collected stamps or something, You know, just like focus on that thing. Forget about all the rest of the stuff. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. I've gone on too long. But if you do read any of my posts on Substack or whatever, it would be a super fine gift to me to comment on it or like it. It's nice to know somebody read it. Maybe my stuff is too long or too convoluted. I don't know, but if I were someone's friend, I would definitely support them, even if I didn't totally like what they were writing. That's just the way I am. I'm generous that way. Like when people say hello to me, I feel great. Like people are so nice. He said hello. I'm just so excited and happy about that. You know, I see the positive in everything all the time, except when I'm thinking deeply. And so I just don't understand why people don't support each other. I don't get it. You know, it's like because I guess people are just trying to be the one, the thing. You know, um, I don't understand it. But anyway, that's life. So anyway, okay, I'm done. Take care. Bully MT out.